Skip and Skip X Embed X share close. Last season's starting quarterback spoke with the media on Wednesday, August 16, 2017. In Ann Arbor, video by Jeff Seidel / Michigan offensive lineman Mason Cole preparing to snap the ball to a Wilton Speight. Photo, USA Today Sports right parenthesis left parenthesis note, this is part of a week-long series examining Michigan's 2017 position groups. Right parenthesis narratives can be tricky and dangerous. As Michigan slumped to 3 losses in its final 4 games to close the once promising 2016 season. Fans and onlookers began to search for reasons why it all slipped, and, as is often the case, the easiest answer became a popular scapegoat. Wilton Speight started his college football career as a full-time starter with 9 straight wins, then he played poorly at Iowa, hurt his shoulder, and the offense went downhill from there. Naturally, some finger-pointing began and some fans wondered whether or not Speight was the guy for this team moving forward. If in-season narratives are tricky and dangerous, off-season narratives can, at times, be downright ridiculous. Wishing and hoping takes over for fact-based results and realities, which, eventually, turns into something completely different. This, in a nutshell, was the external talk outside the walls of Schembechler Hall this summer when it came to Michigan's quarterbacks. Speight, some said, wasn't good enough, and tested redshirt freshman. Others hoped, was the new guy who was surely going to be the answer to all prayers. John O'Korn, some thought, wasn't even a factor at this point. More, hello, again, Michigan beat, it's me, Nick Baumgartner. Fortunately for realistic football observers, there's a thing called fall camp, where all the what-ifs turn into answers. Double quote, John and Wilton have really stepped up. Harbaugh said earlier this month, I think they've created a little bit of separation and they're battling now. Double quote, we single quote Ray keeping a very close eye on it and it's progressing well. Double quote, that progression will likely continue right up until the Wolverines take the field on September 2nd against Florida in Texas. Meantime, let's get into where UM's quarterback room sits entering 2017.2016 recap. One of the reasons why Harbaugh continued to harp on what a good spot Speight was in entering camp was his experience, not just in game, on the field, but his experience with these preseason quarterback battles. In 2015, he lost falling behind Jake Rudock early and never recovering. In 2016, he won battling all year long with O'Korn before narrowly edging him to start the year. He knows what it takes to survive this. He understands what Harbaugh wants from his starters: efficiency, ball security, and being able to create something when everything else around you is falling apart. More Speight -o single quote Korn QB battle great for the team Seidel, Speight in better shape. O'Korn more confident. Speight may have had his accuracy issues at times last season, more on that in a second. But overall, his body of work as a first-year starter was more than solid. If you take everything into account, it looked pretty darn strong at times. Consider these Big Ten ranks: number 3 in passer rating, 139.76. Number 2 in yards per attempt, 7.7. Number 2 in completion rate, 61.6%. And number 5 in yards per game, 211.5. Right parenthesis. Skip and Skip X Embed X share close. Michigan quarterback John O'Korn spoke to the media on Wednesday, August 16, 2017. In Ann Arbor, video by Jeff Seidel / Michigan finished number 4 nationally in percentage of possessions ending in a turnover, 6.9, and number 21 nationally in percentage of pass plays resulting in an interception, 1.8. And while Speight did have some issues late in the season with the deep ball, he did, believe it or not, hold the highest passer rating in the Big Ten. Per Pro Football Focus, when it came to targets of 20 yards or more, 113.8. Right parenthesis. He kept the offense on schedule. Michigan faced an average of 3rd and 6.04 yards last season. Number 6 nationally. He avoided sacks with his feet even when his line wasn't cooperating, just 1.5 sacks per game, and he was far from a turnover machine. Elite? Probably not. More than serviceable? Yes. Room for improvement? Absolutely. U-M lost 3 games by a combined 5 points last season, and in each one of those games, Speight had his problems. He missed open receivers downfield at Iowa. He had costly turnovers against Ohio State. He was a mess throughout the first half in the Orange Bowl. At the same time, his offensive line and running game completely failed him in all 3 of those losses, averaging just 92.7 yards per game in that stretch. Make no mistake, though, he was the best quarterback on the team. O'Korn started one game due to Speight's shoulder injury and he went 7 of 16 for 59 yards. It did snow, though. Peters, meanwhile, redshirted. Michigan quarterback Brandon Peters looks to pass in the spring game Saturday, April 15, 2017 at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. Photo, Kurt Monaf Dozier. DFP right parenthesis 2017 Outfitters made this thing interesting earlier this year after he carried over a strong close to the 2016 practice season with some impressive throws in spring ball, when protections held and Peters was allowed to firm pocket to throw from. His arm looked surgical. At the same time, Speight always seemed to have an advantage over him when plays broke down. The veteran starter handled blitzes better. He made more plays on the run. He knew when to cut bait and when to take a chance. Peters, who still has not played a game as a college quarterback, is still learning all of this. Corn As biggest issues a year ago were some of the problems that began to haunt him at Houston. Ball security. Michigan's offense cannot afford to live with turnovers. Speight took better care of the football last offseason and kept things on schedule. Thus, he was the starter. He can, of course, leapfrog Speight and become the guy this year, but we're probably going to have to see that to believe it. Peters has been the most interesting option throughout this process because he's raw and super talent. His arm talent may be better than any other quarterback on the roster, but the rest of his game has yet to develop against live action, command of the huddle, voice on the field, improvisation that doesn't result in a disaster. This stuff comes in time, and Speight, right now, probably has better command of it than anyone else. Predict Ions projected starter, Wilton Speight reserves, John O'Corn, Brandon Peters. The skinny, Speight's been the safest bet throughout this process and is still the popular pick to win this job. Same time, UN has to find a way to get Peters on the field at some point this season, whether it be in mop-up duty or special package duty here or there. Harbaugh will have to see what Peters can do in a live and controlled environment sooner or later. Corn has made a push. There's no doubt, and we'll see if it's enough. He's a valued member of Michigan's football team right now and will be even if he's a backup once again. He's a respected player in the locker room and he'll be looked to as a team leader this season, especially with an offense that's so young. The gap between number 3 and the rest, right now, is wide. Dylan McCaffrey's a talent true freshman, but he's just a freshman. He's as sure a bet to a redshirt as any player on the team. He'll have his chance to prove what he can do during bowl practices and next spring. Alex Malzone is entering his 3rd season with the team and, at this point, it's starting to get pretty late for him. If he's going to make any type of move up this depth chart, it may be now or never. If Speight does in fact win this job again, he's going to have to make a leap this year. The accuracy issues that crept up late last year and again in spring have to fade away. He's dropped weight. He's lighter on his feet. He's a year older and wiser. It's time for him to become more than what he was a year ago. Harbaugh isn't known for a quick trigger finger at quarterback, but if a guy isn't winning and making plays that are costing a team games, he's never been afraid to make a move. Experience is probably enough to win him this job, but it won't be enough on its own for him to keep it. Contact Nick Baumgardner and Baumgarden at freepress.com. Follow him on Twitter at Nick Baumgardner. Download our Wolverines Extra app for free on Apple and Android devices.